After 20 years.
2학년 5반 이의재, 이준호, 이창학, 이현우, 전재한.
The policeman on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The impressiveness was habitual and not for show, for there were few passengers who were watching him. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but cold gusts of wind with a taste of rain in them had well deserted the street. Trying doors as he went, twirling his club with many puzzling and artful movements, turning now and then to cast his watchful eye down the Pacific Main Road. The officer made a fine picture of a keeper of the peace. The vicinity was one that kept early hours. Now and then you might see the light of a cigar store or of an allied lunch counter, but the majority of the doors belonged to business places that had long since been closed. When approaching a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his work. In the doorway of a darkened hardware store, a man leaned with a light cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke up quickly.
It's all right, officer. I'm just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sounds a little funny to you, doesn't it? Well, I'll explain if you'd like to make certain it's all strange. About that, long over there used to be a restaurant where this store stands. Big Joe Brady Restaurant.
Until 5 years ago, it was torn down there.
The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, square face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. His scarf pin was a large diamond, oddly set.
20 years ago tonight, I dined here at the Big Joe Brady's with Jamie Wells, my best friend in the world. He and I were raised here in New York, just like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning, I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He dropped it. Was the only place on earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet here again exactly 20 years from that date and time. No matter what our conditions might be or from what distance we might have to come. We figured that in 20 years each of us ought to have our destiny worked out and our fortune made, whatever they were going to be. Why don't we change our place? Let's go!
Sounds pretty interesting. Let a long time between match. So it seems to me, haven't you sorry, heard from your friend since you left?
Well, yes, for a time we correspond. But after a year or two, we lost track of each other. You see, the West is pretty big, and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he's alive. For he always was the truest old friend in the world. He's never forget. I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight, and it is worth it my old partner turns up.
The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch, the lid of it set with small diamond.
You bet. I hope Jimmy has done half as well. He was kind of slow, but good fellow as he was. I have to compete with some of the sharpest wits going to get my file. A man get used to the comfortable life in New York. It takes the West to put a razor edge on him.
The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two.
I will be on my way. Goodbye, friend.
Alright, goodbye, officer!
There was now a fine cold drizzle falling, and the wind had risen into a steady blow. The few foot passengers moving in that quarter hurried silently along with coat collars turned to hide and pocketed hands. And in the door of the hardware store, the man who had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment with the friend of his youth, smoked his cigar and waited.
Hey, is name Bob?
Is that your GPS?
Yeah, bro! Hey! Hey, Bob! Long time no see, bro! Oh, bless my heart! It's Bob! Sure is fate? I was certain I'd find you there if you were still in existence. Well, 20 years is a long time, Bob. I wish it had lasted, so we could have had another dinner there. How was the West treat you, old man? Bob, this room is closed. Why don't you go another drugstore?
Oh yeah, go!
Okay, let's go.
Bully, it has given me everything I explore. You changed a lot, Jimmy. I never thought you were so tall by 2 or 3 inches.
Oh, I grew a bit after I was 20.
Do you mean in your Jimmy?
Yeah, bro. Moderately, I have a position in one of the city departments. Come on, Bob. We'll go around to a place I know of and have a good long talk about old times. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro.
The two men started up the street arm in arm. The man from the West, proud of his success, was beginning to outline the history of his career. The other, sunken in his overcoat, listened with interest. At the corner stood a drugstore brilliant with electric light. When they came into this, glare each of them turned at the same instant to look upon in other face. The man from the West stopped suddenly and released his arm.
You're not a Jimmy Wells. 20 years is a long time, but not long enough to change a man's nose from a Roman to flat one.
You've been under arrest for 10 minutes, Bob. Chicago thinks you may have dropped over our way and wires us she wants to have a chat with you. Going quickly. Are you? That's sensible. Now, before we go on to the station, here's a note I was asked to hand you. You may read in here at the window. It's from Patron Reales.
The man from the West unfolded the little piece of paper handed to him. His hand was steady when he began to read, but it trembled a little by the time he had finished it. The note was rather short.
됐어.